Hi, it's me. It's been a while again, but I found a few minutes to sneak away from my kids to record this video. Hope everybody is getting ready for Christmas and not too stressed out. Um, this time of year, as I expected it would, is becoming a little challenging for me. Not just being busy and trying to put the finishing touches on all of my Christmas shopping and present wrapping and school performance for the kids, their Christmas performance and everything, and grocery shopping and bracing myself for that long break with all the kids home. But last year, actually it was 1 year ago yesterday, was my first hospitalization for my pregnancy with Gemma. So October is when I was put on modified bed rest. That was when I started having problems with the pregnancy. It was at the end of October. But the first time I was hospitalized was actually December 18th, so 1 week before Christmas last year. So yesterday was the 18th, and I had a lot of emotions yesterday about, just couldn't believe where I was at 1 year ago and where I'm at here now. And I'm so grateful for my life and Gemma's. But I feel like I was so scared a year ago, so uncertain with what was happening with my pregnancy, with my placenta previa and my hemorrhaging. By the middle of December, I had been hemorrhaging for 7 weeks or so already, maybe 8 weeks. I don't know. It was a long time. So I was really nervous and just very uncertain about what was going to happen. Was my baby going to make it? Was I going to make it? Was I going to end up having to have a hysterectomy? Was I going to need blood transfusions? Was I going to need to be revived? Would I ever wake up in bed with blood from my knees to my elbows? That happens to some people. I know that sounds really ridiculous. Some people, I think that's not true, but it is true. Your placenta is hugely fed by your blood supply. And if it becomes abrupted, I mean, we're talking a liter of blood in several minutes. That's possible. So there are a lot of women who have actually woken up in the middle of the night with placenta previa, and some of them never had a bleed before. Some of them had no reason to expect that they would just suddenly bleed, and they just woke up like covered in blood. And I do know that some of them have had very serious things happen where they coded in the ambulance. I mean, I was terrified that that was going to happen to me. And just that anxiety and waiting was very hard for me. I already have anxiety, but that was like over the edge anxiety at that point. And some people are like, well, you could get hit by a car any day. You could, have some random thing happen to your body, something you didn't know about. Maybe you have a heart attack or something, and you there was no way to tell, or that was going to come, or could be some household accident or whatever, and you could die any day. Well, that's true. And a lot of people don't think about things like that, but people with anxiety do think about things like that. And most certainly in my case, because I did have these problems going on, and I had reason to expect that there would be something very sudden and dangerous happen. And so I was living life absolutely on the edge a year ago. I mean, I was hemorrhaging pretty badly, not to be gross, passing clots, and I was at home. I was in the hospital one day, and they were like, look, you're 19 weeks pregnant. The baby's not viable. If you have a massive bleed right now, we're going to have no choice but to do a C-section, go in there, take that baby out. And that's just how it's going to be. That's to save your life. That's what's going to happen. With placenta previa, they can't deliver the baby vaginally because the placenta is in the way. So if this would have happened, where the bleeding would have gotten really, really, really bad to the point where it was putting my life in danger, they would have literally put me under cut me open, gotten out the baby, and potentially even my uterus, depending on how bad the bleeding was and whether or not they could stop it. And then I would be left with nothing. No baby, lucky to be alive, potentially no uterus. This does happen to some people. So again, I wasn't being irrational, even thinking that it might happen. I was hoping it wasn't, but every single day I was wondering, is today going to be the day? Is this going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? So, 1 year ago today, I was released and sent home, and I was there on full bed rest for a month before I was admitted the second time. And the second time is when I was admitted and never went home. I was there for 25 days total, delivering the baby on the 22nd day because the bleeding got so bad. But, I was admitted because things did get worse. And I did end up needing those transfusions. And I did end up, very, very sick. And it was a very scary situation and a very bad place in the hospital. So all of that is coming up on the 1 year anniversary. So my mental state right now is very difficult because all this stuff is coming back to me. Christmas, New Year's is triggering what happened to me last year. And there's no getting over that. PTSD is real, and it is not something that you just get over. People are like, yeah, well, just, you're fine. Your baby survived and you survived, but survival is not all that matters. And I would really appreciate it if no one would tell me again that I should just be grateful, because I'm not. I'm ungrateful that I survived. And look at what happens to other people that, lose their uterus, lose their baby, lose their whatever. Well, guess what? I lost my fertility. I can't have any more children. That is horrible for me. Not necessarily that I was going to have any more, but just knowing that it wasn't my choice, that I can't have any more, that I would potentially die if I had another one. Okay, that's a really hard fact. The fact that I had to give up on breastfeeding and never was able to breastfeed my last baby. I had to let go of that. I got robbed of 14 weeks of pregnancy. I got robbed of, being with my baby 24/7 with her inside me for 14 weeks. And then having to watch her fight for her life for 14 weeks in the NICU. Having to go through what I did on my own body. It's a lot. And so gratitude has nothing to do with it. Yes, I'm grateful, but people act like if I complain, that I'm not being grateful and that I have bad attitude. So if you know anyone who is going through this kind of a situation and you're like, what's the matter with her? Why can't she just get over it? Or she's ungrateful or whatever. Stop it right now. Do them a favor, especially if it's someone that you really love and care about, a family member. Don't tell them how they should feel. Let them feel how they do and listen and give them a break. Just give them some space. If they don't want to be around you, if they, they want to, hide in their room, whatever, leave them alone. Let them do what they want to do as they deal with what they're dealing with. I appreciate that respect from the people who give it to me. So there's one other thing I wanted to bring up here. And this is being that I don't know how many of you are Christian or Catholic, but I'm Catholic, and every Christmas, really Advent, as we approach Christmas, I do a lot of reflecting on Mary, the mother of Jesus, and what it must have been like for her to go through what she went through. And last year when I was going through what I was going through with Gemma and with my pregnancy, that in particular really, really put me in a position where I really identified even more with the cross that she bore by carrying Jesus. And people might be like, that's ridiculous, cross she bore. What are you talking about? Let's just stop for a moment here. And think about this. Okay, so she was an unwed mother, right? She was a girl in a time in life, in history, when being pregnant and not having a husband, that was a huge, huge deal. She was facing death. They could have stoned her. That's how serious it was for her to accept to be the mother of Jesus and not not be afraid that she was going to lose her life. That's a huge deal. Secondly, she was betrothed to Joseph. Okay. Can you imagine what that conversation went like? Hey, Joseph, so the other day I was just like hanging out by myself, and suddenly this angel came and told me I was going to be the mother of Jesus and asked me if that was okay with me. And Jesus is going to be our Messiah. He's going to come to save us all. And so I said yes, and I'm pregnant now, and it's not your baby. We can still get married. I hope you still want to get married, right? Um, can you imagine the conversation and how that went for her and how that went for him? But I mean, how scary could it be, a girl, 14, 15 years old, to be pregnant in that situation, to accept whatever was going to happen to you in your pregnancy, and accepting to be the mother of God, and just be like, I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to trust God, and I'm just going to trust that he's going to take care of me, and that Joseph is going to respond in a good way. I mean, that's terrifying, I think. So then, she also accepted the responsibility for caring for him as her own child all the way up until his death. Really, she was there at the foot of the cross. We know that. But can you imagine what it was like to know that you had God, the actual physical body of God, and his heartbeat kicking around and moving around in your body, in your womb? She was the first tabernacle. She was carrying the Christ child, carrying the Messiah, carrying the salvation of the world inside her. Imagine that. Is just incredible. And then, as a mother, if you've given birth and breastfed a baby, she breastfed God. She fed him with her body. She got to hold him in her arms and cradle him and look down at him as he touched her face and drank from her breast. That is incredible that he fed from her, and she taught him everything he knew. Potty training. Jesus had to learn how to potty train. Eating, she fed him. She eventually fed him table food. She taught him safety. I mean, she was with him his whole life. And even if you're a Protestant, maybe you don't have a lot of respect for the Virgin Mary, but if you're a mother, you know that no one will ever love your child like you love your child. Even the child's father, they can love them, but they didn't carry that baby in their body. They were not one with that baby in their body at one point. So imagine what it was like for her to watch. Joseph was dead by the time Jesus died on the cross, but imagine what that was like for her to watch his passion and know that he was God and that he was innocent and that he was her son and that she loved him so much and had to watch him go through all that. So these are some things that I just meditate on and think about during this time of year. But there's this particular song that I had chosen to sing last year during Advent. So if you don't know this, I'm a contemporary music minister at 2 different Catholic churches. I play guitar and I sing for liturgy, for Mass, 2 times a week, 1 at each church. And during Advent, obviously we're singing Advent songs. And there's this one particular song that maybe some of you have heard about, but Amy Grant, it's her song. She sings it, so it's on Christian radio stations, especially at this time of year. But it's called Breath of Heaven. And I had chosen it last year, and I've always really thought it was a beautiful song, but last year I did not realize how emotional it was going to make me. So let me just tell you, the last Sunday of Advent is the Sunday that I had chosen to sing the song, or no, the 3rd Sunday of Advent. I was put on bed rest right before the 4th Sunday of Advent, so I was not I didn't play for that Mass. But the third Sunday of Advent, which is called Gaudete Sunday, which is joyful. It's when we light our pink candle on the Advent wreath, a rose-colored candle actually, and it means to rejoice. It's the Lord is near. We're almost there. There's one more Sunday, and then it's Christmas. So oddly enough, Gaudete Sunday was the day before I was hospitalized, and this is the Sunday I chose to sing this song. And I did not realize, even before I was hospitalized that time, with all that was going on in my pregnancy, I did not realize how emotional this song was going to make me. It's always made me emotional, but I could barely get through it. It was awful. It sounded so bad because I just couldn't even, I was like choked up the whole time. I could like not get it out. And the people in the church probably were like, what is wrong with this lady? Her voice sounds terrible right now. But I wanted to read the words for you because again, this coming Sunday, I'm planning to sing it for the fourth Sunday of Advent. So Christmas is 6 days away, and this coming Sunday is the fourth Sunday of Advent. So I chose it, and I just played it a little bit ago because I wanted to make sure that I can actually get through it without crying, because there would be nothing more embarrassing than literally standing up at the cantor stand in front of the whole church and attempting to sing a song and breaking down. It has almost happened to me before, but I think I heard this song in the radio like a week ago and maybe 2 weeks ago, and I literally lost it in the car as driving, and the song came on, and I was like, like ugly crying, just because it's so emotional for me. And you might be thinking, well, why are you gonna sing it then at church? But I have to just kind of put myself in a frame of mind where I'm like, all right, I can do this. I can turn off the emotion and just sing it, because it's so beautiful and I really want to do it. I do it every year. And so I really, really want to do it. So I'm like, I'm going to have to do like, all right, God, let me get through this without breaking down. But just think about these words as I read it. So it starts out, I have traveled many moonless nights, cold and weary, with a babe inside, and I wonder what I've done. Holy Father, you have come and chosen me now to carry your Son. I am waiting in a silent prayer. I am frightened by the load I bear. In a world as cold as stone, must I walk this path alone? Be with me now. Be with me now. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me, breath of heaven. Breath of heaven, lighten my darkness. Pour over me your holiness, for you are holy, breath of heaven. Do you wonder as you watch my face, if a wiser one should have had my place? But I offer all I am, for the mercy of your plan. Help me be strong. Help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me, breath of heaven. Breath of heaven, lighten my darkness. Pour over me your holiness, for you are holy, breath of heaven. So the gravity of that last year and the fact that she was wandering, on the back of a donkey with Joseph through how far? I mean, if you look at the map and you see the distance of what they traveled, before they got to Bethlehem, and she was pregnant, like super pregnant. Like it's crazy. And you imagine, like there were no streetlights back then. They were out there. There were wild animals, and they were out there by themselves, just traveling. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy. And even if there were some other people around, that's really scary to be that young and to be in that situation. And for her to know that she had to walk that path, she had to carry that cross, and to ask God to give her the strength to do it. It's really, really powerful. And I just totally felt like that last year. Sure, I wasn't carrying Christ inside. I wasn't carrying the God's Son in my body, but just carrying this cross, this, yes, blessing of the baby I was going to have, but for whatever reason, God chose to give me several pregnancies and special babies and deliveries that were very challenging. So last year, this song, it was just like, wow, like this is I totally identify with this right now. Like solidarity here, she was carrying Jesus and terrified and going through this really difficult time and feeling so alone and uncertain. And so was I, with carrying Gemma. So I just wanted to share that with you. Maybe you can take a little bit of time to think about that, those lyrics, or even look it up. Like I said, it's called Breath of Heaven. Amy Grant sings it, and it's really gorgeous. I'm not crazy about Amy Grant, but this particular song is amazing, especially at this time of year, and especially if you're looking for just something to kind of still your soul and meditate a little bit on what happened, thousands of years ago when Jesus was born, as you prepare yourself for Christmas. So this will probably be my last post before Christmas. I wish you all a very blessed Christmas, and you mamas who are still pregnant right now or still in the NICU, my prayers are with you. Just stay strong and trust that God has a plan for you, and his will, not ours, be done. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is let go of your own will and your own choices for your life and just let him do what is his will. And realize that everything he gives you, good, bad, challenging, blessings, whatever, he gives it to you so that you can grow. So that you can grow in holiness and faith and strength and be closer to him. Do not become bitter. I never became bitter. I was scared, but I was never bitter. Do not become bitter. Do not despair. Be not afraid. Have a Merry Christmas.